Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Iron Man, part of the controller Build-A-Figure wave. To be more specific, this is the Model 70, I believe. I'm gonna say the wrong thing. I know I'm gonna say Mark 7 at some point. Model 70, if I remember correctly. This is actually one of my favorite suits by look. I didn't know it was called the Model 70 until recently, just because I didn't. I don't know why. You can judge me if you want to. But I love this look for Iron Man. I think a lot of people do. It's kind of like a throwback to the classic look with the gold legs and arms, the tank top style, and I love it. But it's got some bulk and some sharp edges, and it's pretty cool looking. And the figure, in a lot of ways, is really good. In some ways, it's lacking quite a bit. We're going to talk about all of that. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy I had the ruler next to the light, and now it's a little flaccid. This guy the lights put out a lot of heat. I should have been more clear. This guy stands just about, let's say 6 3/8, just shy of 6 3/4 inches. Gives him a little bit of height, and that's going to make him roughly 17 centimeters. And at first glance, it does look pretty cool, and there is a lot of good stuff about this. It's all new sculpt, so that's pretty cool. And well, let's do a question of the day. No, I can't do which Iron Man is your favorite. I've done that too many times. Oh, here's the question. Do you guys like a sleeker or a bulkier Iron Man? Simple as that. Sleeker or bulkier. And if you want to color your answer with some examples, go for it. For me, I'm not a big fan of the bulk on Iron Man. I like this look, but in the way it's usually drawn, which is this, where it's a lot sleeker. It almost has like the same profile as the original suit. There's a lot of hard edges and things, but he's a lot more slender than this figure would make him look. This gives him a very, very chunky look. He's kind of a chungus here. Not terrible, but it is a thing. So let's go ahead and get into the aesthetic. Everything on this figure is molded plastic, except for where it absolutely needed to be painted. All of the repulsors are just solid white. Or light ports. They're not all going to be repulsors, but they all look like repulsors. So the arc reactor in the chest, the little nublets up here, the elbow ones, the hip one, the leg ones, they're all just solid white. There's no shading at all in there, so that takes away from the look. Looks super cheap, and that's it. Like, obviously there's some paint throughout to make it work. Like, it's not all, like, this isn't two separate pieces of plastic, so there's a little bit of paint there. It looks like it's the gold, and it looks okay. It matches the molded plastic well enough. But come on, this looks like a McDonald's toy almost, because it is just hunks of plastic. I know some people are okay with that. I'm not personally. You can be okay with that if you want to. You don't have to like the same things I like. But from a collection standpoint, it's missing all the paint. It's missing all the detail work. At least throw a wash on there to bring out these panel lines. Something needs to happen. Something needs to be done to make it look good. It looks good enough thanks to the armor design, because it has enough variation that they had to get it right, and you get the yellow and the red distributed nicely, so it doesn't look terrible like a solid black figure like Despair, for instance. But come on, some paint. Something needs to be done to bring these to life. It looks so much like a little kid's toy rather than an adult collectible, which could also be a little kid's toy. And you can't tell me they're not collectibles when they come with a Build-A-Figure piece. They are literally, by definition, collectibles. Okay, other issue I have, the face doesn't really line up with the source material. The eyes are pretty chunky. Let me see is this a good example? He's at a pretty steep angle in this image, so I'll post another image. I wish the eyes were more slender. That gives him a much meaner look, but otherwise it looks pretty good. So yeah, he's just real chunky. The hips mostly is what does it. They're real bulbous right here. If this part was slender, it would look a lot better, I think. If we added a little bit to the shoulder, took a little bit away from the hip, this thing is right on it. But right now it does look a lot like all the other Marvel Legends in that it's way less heroically proportioned. It looks more like a regular guy in suit of armor type thing, sort of. But it's not particularly bad. It's hard for me to describe without it sounding terrible. It's a good figure, but it definitely would look a lot better if it didn't lean into the same things most of the Marvel Legends lean into from Hasbro. I guess that's the best way of putting it. So, aesthetically speaking, I'm going to give it a 7. I love the sculpt work overall. Proportioning's a little bit weird in a few places, and the lack of paintwork is disheartening. As far as accessories go, we get the 2 fist hands that come out in the package. Then we get the 2 repulsor blast hands. They are hinged, that's good. We do not have a painted set, so you're going to either have holes in the hand or permanent blast effects. We get the 2 yellow blast effects, no paintwork on those at all. And then we get the 2 clear swirlies. Looks like there might be some shading, but I think it's actually just the way the plastic catches the light. I still don't like these swirlies because they don't clip onto the blast, they clip onto the wrist or the ankle, and that doesn't make any sense. So accessory-wise, generous 5 out of 10. Not particularly good. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. The head, why isn't it on a double ball peg? What happened? We're on a single ball peg, and it's a lollipop, but you can kind of hide it, and he can look up relatively well. Just don't look at it directly from the front. So I'll take that. It does lean forward nicely-ish. Having that lollipop is not helpful here because it creates gaps it doesn't need to, but it can look down. Obviously, it can look side to side. It can lean a little bit, but it's too high up on the neck, so it doesn't look great, but it's not as bad as it could be. Yeah, the neck is also on a ball peg, so that's why it's so frustrating. Like, the neck should be on a ball peg and the head should be on a double ball peg. It wouldn't have cost them any more to do that. But luckily, the neck being on a ball peg does give a lot of extra posability to the head, a lot of nuance posing, and that is a really good thing. So I love that. The neck being on a ball peg does save this antiquated joint. So I like that. Shoulders get full rotation. They are ball hinges, but this piece right here has to go over this piece, and it is a very stiff piece, and it's connected mostly. So you can use your man strength to lift it up, and that's about as high as you're going to get it, but it really stresses that plastic, and you get little indents in there, and you don't want that. So shoulders are very limited. These should be probably the same size, but just lifted off the shoulder just a little bit, kind of like that. I mean, I know it's not perfectly accurate, but if you want that range, you either have to cut out more of the chest or something. Cut out more of the chest and make the shoulder a bigger ball, or do this better. I don't know, it's just, you can't use the shoulders well, so that's not good. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow, 90 degrees. 90 degree bend. Very, very limited elbows. Obviously the wrists have a swivel and a hinge. All the hinge joints are very metallic, by the way. Same thing in the neck. Focus camera. Do it. There you, oh my gosh, do it. Yeah, I don't know why they're so metallic. That's strange considering the rest of the figure isn't. Okay, torso joint. Let's see how that works. It is a double ball peg. It leans back just a little bit. Very limited range leaning back. Very limited range leaning forward. Leaning to the side works pretty well, but it's not exactly a fluid joint. It's very jaggy. So that needs to be, the lower part needs to be filled out more, and the top part needs to come down a little bit more. Ugh. Man, that's rough to look at. Alright, you get your rotation out of that as well. Nothing else in the torso. That is it. He's very limited in the torso for a brand new sculpt. We're seeing some things that aren't great. Going out to the side, let's see. That's not bad. It's better than 45 for an Iron Man figure. I'll take it. It's about as good as the new Spider-Man figure. Or not new, but the retro one with the drop-down hips. So that's okay. Going forward, I'm guessing, yeah, they're not great. It's acceptable. But if they had just leaned up these thighs just a little bit up here toward the hip, you'd get better range and it would look better. Should I do a Photoshop? Alright, I'll do a slight Photoshop. I can't show you the joint work, obviously, but I'll show you what it looks like. Thigh swivel is fine. That's fairly well hidden. That is okay. Double jointed knee works pretty well. It's not great. Why did they do that? They should have gone a little bit lower with that cut. Would have got a little bit more range out of that, but that's okay. It's not terrible. You do get a boot swivel at the boot, so if you like that, that's good. This is a good way to do a boot swivel because it doesn't destroy the sculpt. Ankles go pretty far forward, all the way back, and the ankle rocker is pretty steep, but you can just rotate that boot, so that's okay. So yeah, it's not a bad figure by any means. The articulation could definitely be better here and there. Love the ball peg neck. Torso could be a lot better. Arms could be a lot of it could be a lot better, I guess. It's not terrible, but it's definitely lacking for a brand new sculpt, and at a higher price point, you would expect to see a little bit better range. Because it doesn't cost more to do it right the first time. That's the problem. Doing it wrong the first time means we get a whole bunch of the same figure with the same problems. So, articulation on this guy, I'll give it a 7. No, I'm going to do 6. The neck's great, but the rest of it leaves a lot to be desired. Hips are limited, elbows limited, shoulders limited, torso limited. Not great. Okay, final verdict on this release. I love the armor. Personally, I like the figure a whole bunch, but as a reviewer, it's got a whole lot of problems. It looks way better on camera than it does in person. The light bouncing off of it with the studio lighting makes it look nice. It's not. It looks really plasticky in person. The reds aren't really metallic at all. The gold is a little bit, but lack of paint, lack of metal flake, lack of anything to really make this figure come to life, and the chunky hips and semi-small shoulders and not squinty eyes. It just doesn't quite capture the same badassness of the suit design in the comics that I would want it to. So I'm going to give it a final rating of 7 out of 10. It's fine given the price point. I think most people, they're not going to be real thrilled for the price point, but the figure is not terrible. So if you can just wrap your head around that's what Marvel Legends costs now, and then you just don't care about the price, then you'll be okay. But if you're actually looking for a collectible that's worth what you're paying, I can't say this is worth the 25 or 26 bucks. It's just not. There's no paint on it. And it doesn't pose well. What the heck? And the accessories are no good. Man, Marvel Legends are sad. Making me sad every time I review them, just about. Alright, well, that's it, guys. Let me know how you feel about it in the comment section below. I'll pin a comment if someone says something interesting or funny or something like that. And thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I do have new videos every day but Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, I've got over 4,000 videos you can peruse at your leisure. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.